What's up guys, my name is Ace, and yesterday obviously we got the big reveal for Call of Duty Vanguard's multiplayer. However, in that reveal stream, they also had a short section dedicated to Warzone and the future of Warzone and its integration with Vanguard. And with this, they also gave us a good look at the new map that's coming out, which is going to be Warzone Pacific. So in today's video, I wanted to talk about this a little bit, and I also wanted to talk about the fact that there's a possibility that this is not just going to be a new map that they tack on to Warzone, but more so a new Warzone experience, basically Warzone 2.0. And I'm going to be sharing exactly why I feel this at least could be the case. So diving right in, first up, let's just have a look at the map itself. We have a bunch of shots that they showed off of the map, so we get a really good indication of what the general look is going to be like. And the very first thing I noticed is I just love the vibrance. We've actually got quite a bit of color here. Lots of greens, got a bright blue sky, although there are some clouds there as well. But my initial impression of this is this looks more like an environment I would like to be in compared to Verdansk. Verdansk has always felt really like brownish and gray and sort of washed out and not really a pleasant environment to be in, which it doesn't necessarily have to be. It's a first-person shooter, not a vacation or anything. But in either case, at least to some degree, that affects my mood while playing the game, and I like seeing some vibrance and some color added to this. The next big thing that I noticed here is it looks like we're going to be fighting much more in the open on this map. We obviously don't have like a big downtown area. We don't have skyscrapers everywhere. It primarily just looks like a bunch of shacks and houses, and then some industrial things as well. Some like mining areas, for instance. And it also looks like we might be seeing some caves and a theater. I believe that's a theater called the Royal. So while it looks like there's going to be some interesting aspects to this and interesting points of interest, for the most part, it appears a lot of the fighting is going to take place in more open terrain rather than between buildings and inside buildings and from rooftop to rooftop. And I personally think that's going to be a very refreshing change of pace for Warzone. I feel like we're going to have a lot more fights out in the open rather than inside buildings or on rooftops. So overall, well, you can definitely tell that this is pre-alpha footage. The textures and stuff aren't all finished. It doesn't look like it's in a really polished state based on what they've shown here. I do like the aesthetics of this, as well as the fact that we are going to have that more open combat as far as we can see here. But next up for this video, a big thing I wanted to focus on here is how are they going to handle this integration? And we still don't have confirmation of everything, so this is going to be a bit speculative from here on out. But one big thing I noticed during the Warzone section of this live stream is, first up, they call this the next chapter of Warzone. And second, they kept talking about this as if it was its own unique game. They kept calling it Warzone Pacific rather than the new Warzone map, and they also kept referring to it as the new Warzone experience. Now, of course, I might be reading into this way too much. Maybe it is just a new map and everything else just comes over, and then they just add the World War II weapons to all of the existing guns and perks that are already in Warzone. However, what I suspect may be happening with this integration is this might be effectively kind of like Warzone 2.0. And what I mean by this is they might be leaving everything behind in the classic Warzone that's currently tied to Modern Warfare 2019, and instead they're going to be bringing out this new Warzone experience as a part of Vanguard. They did confirm that it'll be using the exact same engine and tech from Vanguard, which is no surprise, but that implies that it's going to be attached to the Vanguard client rather than having to boot up Modern Warfare 2019 in order to get to Warzone. And if this is the case, this could potentially open things up for them to scrap everything that we've seen so far in Warzone and have sort of a fresh start. So all new perks, only the World War II weapons, and then a bunch of changes to the mechanics and everything like that as well. So the buy stations, maybe they're going to be completely changing the way that loadouts work. Who knows? We really don't know what's going on here. But it does seem logical that at least at some point in Warzone's life cycle, they're going to have to do a relaunch like this. They can't just keep adding new weapons year after year after year so that we have thousands of weapons available at once, because there's just no way of keeping that remotely balanced. And also, it doesn't make for a fresh experience that brings back players that got bored of Warzone. It's not going to really bring them back in. It's not going to do great for marketing. And also, now that we've had a solid year and a half of Warzone, there are a bunch of areas that are just clearly flawed and could use some reworks. An example of this is how the minimap works and how suppressors work, and the fact that you basically need to use a suppressor on all of your loadout weapons. Whereas when we look at the way they're handling attachments in Vanguard compared to Modern Warfare and Cold War, We're going to have 10 attachments available on our guns at any given time, at least in multiplayer. We don't know how it's going to work in Warzone, but assuming that's going to carry into Warzone, which it kind of seems like it would, that would make things completely unbalanced with the other guns. Another thing to point out, in Vanguard, suppressors don't keep you off the radar. The thing that keeps you off the radar is the subsonic ammo type. So it already seems like they are prepping things to reduce reliance on suppressors for Warzone, and instead you're going to be choosing those ammo types, and there's more of a trade-off to that is going to make sense in Warzone. And who knows, maybe they're going to change the minimap interaction up completely. Maybe they're going to get rid of UAVs, because in a lot of ways that doesn't really make a lot of sense for a Battle Royale game to have a UAV. Or at least a UAV in a buy station, maybe as a special item or something like that. But based on everything I'm seeing so far, it would sort of make sense for them to do a relaunch and basically launch this as its own unique, brand new Warzone experience, which would also allow them to justify dropping all of the Modern Warfare and Cold War content, especially if they keep classic Warzone online. The problem that they would run into if they don't relaunch as a fresh experience, as sort of a Warzone 2.0, is a lot of people would be upset with all the bundles that they've bought for all their weapons, all the operators they've bought for Modern Warfare and Cold War. If you don't relaunch as a new experience, you kind of have to keep those around long term. You have to keep them going. And then where's the incentive for people to buy new bundles and new operators if they've already purchased the ones that they want to use and they're just going to stick with those forever? So yeah, like I said, this is just speculation at this point, and I might be reading into things a little bit too much, but logically, it seems like this is the direction that Warzone will have to go at some point, whether that be with Vanguard or maybe the next Call of Duty game. At some point, they're probably going to have to do a relaunch of a fresh Warzone experience, and this could be the year for that. Personally, I would love to see this because it would allow them to fix a lot of the deep-rooted balance issues that Warzone has. Personally, I would love to see this because it would allow them to tackle some of the deep-rooted issues with Warzone, and they could also take all of the lessons they've learned over the past year and a half and apply them to a fresh experience so they can start from scratch, they can get rid of the things that didn't work in Warzone, and they can build on the things that did work in Warzone. It would also be great for them to, once again, simplify the weapon balancing experience. At this point, there are so many weapons available in Warzone that it's pretty overwhelming, even for me as a content creator, where it's kind of my job to keep up with the meta and like what the good guns are and the bad guns. It's becoming overwhelming, and I don't know how they're going to carry that forward if they just keep adding more and more and more guns to this. Instead, I'd rather them strip that back, start from scratch again, give us a good set of weapons at the beginning here, and build off of that once again over time. So yeah, that's my hope. I hope this is launching as a fresh Warzone experience where they're sort of starting from scratch with a clean slate and building from there. But if they do that, of course, I hope Warzone's identity is still going to be within that, because of course it does have its own unique identity in the Battle Royale market. But I'd like to hear from you guys in the comment section below. First up, what do you guys think about the looks of this Pacific map? Do you think this is going to be better than Verdansk, or not so much? And then also, what do you think about the idea of them essentially relaunching this as a fresh, new Warzone experience where they scrap basically everything we've seen content-wise from the past, and they sort of start from scratch and start building up again? Do you think that would be the right move for Warzone, or would you be really unhappy to see that? Just let me know those thoughts down below. If you enjoyed the video, a like rating is always appreciated, and don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.